I'm a boat builder from the Cotswolds in the UK, and I'm currently building a boat called Temptress, designed by Michelle Barrier and kitted by myself to be built utilising the latest in CAD design, CNC cutting and modern epoxy wood construction. In the last video I made the stem lamination, which is this giant piece of timber that you can see next to me here. We machined all the laminates for it and then epoxied it together on the big CNC cut jig that forms the shape of it. In this video I'm going to be putting this back on the CNC machine, taking it from its stock state here to its completely finished state as it would be within the boat. So it's going to be completely beveled. All the notches are going to be cut into this part to receive the landings for all the timbers that are going to come into the stem at the front end of the boat. A stem is perhaps one of the most complex components within a wooden boat, and previously there would be a lot of manual work to shape that and to land everything into it. I'm going to attempt to do that a relatively new way on the CNC machine, so we'll see how that pans out. Not quite sure how it's going to work yet. A little bit nerve-wracking to get this on the machine, as there are a lot of hours in just making this lamination, but it'll save a chunk of time if I can get it right. So let's get this beast machined. Okay, so the first thing to do is to get this part located on the machine so that I can reference all of my tool paths. And the way I'm planning to do that is to cut an outline of the part in my spoil board here. So I'm planning to just lightly score the spoil board here and just create an outline. What I've done is I've modelled this stock as the lamination is currently, so we can see how that compares to what we're going to get out the end of it, and it means that I can do a proper clearance tool path and machine off all of this waste material, hopefully. So I'm going to do an outline of that stock part in my spoil board, and hopefully that's just going to basically give me a template to locate this part and get started. Okay, that works. That's got our stem nicely located, and it's just a bit of confirmation for me that I know that the tool path I've created to rough all this out is going to be in the right vicinity. So we've got that located with reference to our origin. Now I think what I'm going to do, because the back edge of this stem is slightly incorrect due to the spring back in the lamination, obviously I've referenced this here, and the line that's cut on that machine is in theory where that reference line, well, that's where the back edge of that stem wants to be, and you can see that we're missing it in a couple of places. So I think to make sure that my machine actually cuts the stem on the back edge as well as on the front, because we've got plenty of stock left on the forward end of this, I think what I'm going to do is just jog the machine slightly that way and slightly this way, which means that I'm going to just cut into my stock a little bit more in this direction, and should mean that hopefully I definitely clean up all of that back face, which I would like to do if possible. It's not miles out, but it'd be nice to just satisfy that that is perfectly correct. So I'm going to do that, and we'll run the first op. So the first operation here is going to be a facing operation to flatten out the top face of this and just bring me down. Basically the whole first side operation isn't actually that critical on its height and its position, because what I'm going to do is then I'm going to do another reference cut when I turn the stem over, and that's going to be the the second operation, second side operations are going to be the sort of critical thing for defining the final width of the stem and getting things exactly correct and aligned with the two sides. So the first side operation has a little bit of leeway. When we get to the second side, we want it to align with the first. That's what I think anyway. So I'm going to get this screwed down with some little blocks. We'll run the facing up and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that is first facing operation one. So we've got this top face perfectly flat now. Very uniform actually to how I'd already cleaned it up, so I was quite pleased to see that. And it's following the profile of the stock that I've got there well, so that's good. That means that I've got it well positioned. I'm happy with that. So the next tool path is going to be a roughing operation. So that's going to do sort of stepped cuts down through here, and it's going to rough out the bulk of the material. I'm only going down halfway on the depth, so I'm going to cut half of the stem, then we're going to flip this, and then we're going to do all the same operations on the second side once we've got it referenced. So let's get the roughing operation running. Okay, so there is the result of the roughing op. See all the material that it's removed, and quite a lot of material that we removed back here where the keel runs forward and lands on it. So that's the reason I wanted to stop those laminations short. I maybe could have stopped them a bit shorter, but you don't really want to risk running out of room and being a bit too shy on that, so that's okay. You can see our step in the stem there, which accounts for our difference between topside planking thickness and bottom planking thickness. And the bulk of our material is removed. So we'll get on to the next op, which is going to give us a much smoother profile for the finished stem. Okay, so we're going to use a ball-nosed end mill for this next pass, and that's going to give us a nice smooth transition between the layers as we come down through the part. Okay, so there we go, first side beveled. Looking very nice, and you can see I've just removed a little bit off the back side. You can see where I've gone through a lamination there, and that measurement varies slightly along the profile of that, so that shows that we're just a little bit out, but we knew that anyway because of spring back. So yeah, you can see it's actually just missed a little bit at the top end here, and you can see we're starting to remove material around the back edge. So that's going to correct the rear profile of the stem. Then we've got our bevel. So I've done a 2mm step down on this, so we've got little ridges here. We could get that smoother, but that's going to make the program take quite a long time. And to be honest, I don't think that's a problem at all, because this is actually going to be bonded to. So remember that, you know, planking is going to be landed on this, and I think that ridged surface is actually an ideal one to bond to with epoxy, so we'll leave that as it is. That is not all for this side, so I'm going to do all of the landings now for the timbers that come down into this section of stem. So that's going to be the shear clamp comes in up here, topside battens all the way down here. We've got various landings around here for where the chine comes in, and that part of the stem is pretty much going to stay the same. So let's take a look at what we're going to do next. We've got a load of little pockets to machine out. Okay, so there is side one done of the stem. You can see everything that's going on with this. It's quite a complex piece. A lot of landings, but they've cut really nicely. A little bit of trimming work to do on some of these, and this is just due to a very slight access issue with the cutter, because there's actually a tiny little undercut under that in CAD, so the cut's just jumping up and over that. But minor trimming there is not going to be a problem at all. This is certainly going to help me to land all of my components correctly into the stem with minimal work. So I am chuffed with that. Let's get it flipped, and we'll cut the second side. Okay, so the second facing operation, I'm expecting that to remove a little bit more material because we need to finish at 76mm wide, and obviously we did our first side as a kind of reference, but then our second side is still kind of floating free. So this is going to be the operation that now determines the final width of the stem. So we're currently at about 79 millimeters, and we're going to need to finish at 76. So this is going to be about a 3mm pass, I think, and I hope. Let's run it, see what we get. What have we got? Can't complain at that. Very nice. So there is our finished stem. There is now substantially less wood on the lamination and substantially more chips all around my workshop. It seems like quite a wasteful process, but that's one of the byproducts of a lot of things within woodworking. If you've done very much woodworking at all, you will know that that is quite often the case. And a bit of an interesting statistic, I'd actually heard somewhere that when drumsticks are made from a very high grade of hickory, and there's a huge amount of waste on there, and their typical waste factor for those is actually 90%, so only 10% of the final wood goes into the drumstick. Little interesting random statistic for you there. Anyway, here's the stem. I'm really pleased with how that's come out. We are perfect on width. All of these landings are really good. The bevels are nice. We won't know 100% until we get it into the boat and see how it's actually going to line up, but I couldn't have asked for that to go much better, really pleased with that. So what I think I'm going to do in the next video is actually a mock setup. So I've got the stem now, I've got frames 1, 2 and 3 as well, and I've been working on a new strongback system. There's going to be a CNC cut strongback that I'm going to use with my boat, and that's actually going to allow me to build just the forward end of the strongback. So I think what I'm going to do is build that, and we'll see the setup process for aligning the stem and the first 3 frames within the boat. That's going to be a good opportunity for me to start to see how some of these CNC carving operations that I've done will actually work out before I roll them out throughout the rest of the boat. So we'll be able to do a sort of test landing of some of the chines and the topside battens, things like that, and see how all of this works. Hopefully it does, and I haven't just wasted everything that I've already made on the boat. So that's what's coming up in the next episode. Thanks once again to all the patrons and project sponsors that are helping to make this project happen. Really appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Cheers guys.